Hello lads, ladies, gents, ladetts, whoever, whatever, welcome back to another video. You may have noticed that this is a video I've technically done before, however, I will be privating that video and remastering it for your viewing pleasure. As at the end of the day, it was not up to a standard that I now deem suitable. So, I hope you enjoy as we dive into the world of Digimon. However, I'm not going to do every single Digimon game, as with the amount there are, it's going to be a hard no from me. Now, I wanted to talk about the Digimon World series because it's a series that I think went pretty underappreciated, especially at the time, and even to this day. I do plan on covering every game within the Digimon World franchise, all the way from the first game up to the New Order. However, for today, we're just going to focus on the first game, Digimon World. Releasing in Japan on January 28th, 1999, North America on May 23rd in 2000, and the Power regions on July 6, 2001. Digimon World aimed to bring the viral success of the Digimon handheld devices that were like Tamagotchis to the big screen. Although not getting the greatest reviews from critics, the game seems to have done pretty well, at least among fans. Developed by BEC, later BB Studios from Japan in the late 90s, and then handed to Flying Tiger Development for US reprogramming, Digimon World was published at a time when its then publisher Bandai was struggling, and unfortunately it was unable to save Bandai as a company. Eventually Bandai was bought out by Namco, giving us the Bandai Namco we know today. It's not to say the game wasn't successful, however, as it did manage to sell over 1.3 million copies. Our plot begins from the very opening cutscene, as you see two kids battling it out with their own Digivices like you would in the school grounds back in the day, while our protagonist shows up and watches on with great excitement, only to later head home seeing his own Digivice light up, which then leads to him being sucked into the digital world. You're implored upon arriving to help save File City as it is in danger. In order to do so, you will need to recruit more Digimon to repopulate the city, all while finding out about an evil plot by an entity known as Analog Band. The story isn't anything special, however, what it does well is make sure that you're aware that you constantly need to go out and explore, because the more you explore, the more Digimon you can bring back to the town in order to help save it. However, one major complaint I do have is the fact Analog Man doesn't really feel like much of a threat. Sure, we know he's a threat because we've been told so, but he doesn't really make his presence all too well known, at least to the player. Digimon World is an RPG, but unlike most RPGs of its era, it plays a little bit differently. The core of the gameplay can be split into two main aspects, that being the raising and growth of your Digimon, along with the other aspect being the exploration and battle side of things, which is what you would expect more so from a game of its time. As mentioned earlier, the game took the idea of taking Digivices and making it an actual 3D game you could play on your TV. So if you've ever played with a Tamagotchi or a Digivice, you know what to expect. But for those who don't, to summarize it very briefly, you just look after them like you would a pet. However, obviously, virtually. In order to raise our Digimon though, there are a few activities we need to partake in. Firstly, you're going to need to feed them. This will happen pretty often, and there are a variety of foods which you can use to quell their hunger, consisting of various mushrooms, meats, and even paid meals later in the game that you can use to raise their stats. Speaking of stats, they are the other major part of raising our Digimon, as we will need to train them in order to make them strong enough to not only battle, but to also Digivolve. It's a pretty simple system in theory, but in practice, trying to get specific evolutions can be pretty tough, at least until you're used to it. So I highly recommend using a guide or an evolution tool that fans have made to make life a little bit easier. All the stats are pretty straightforward as to what they achieve for you. With Brains being one, I highly recommend getting to a good level on pretty much any Digimon you have, as it will give you access to more commands in the battles you have to take part in. Additionally, we also have two more things to worry about. That is our tiredness, which is pretty self-explanatory, and pooping. Pooping is a thing, as a kid, and even today, I still find funny because the little fart sound just makes me laugh. Now with raising the Digimon out of the way, let's talk about the other main aspect of the game, its exploration and combat. With the map consisting of roughly a dozen zones, you get to see how the Digimon go about living their daily lives. Unlike Pokemon, at least at the time, we could actually see Digimon in real time, no random encounters, which was just really cool to see. As we explore, you also get to see this game's visual style, which is quite interesting. It's a combination of the natural world mixed with the digital, actually creating this really cool effect, thanks to its use of pre-rendered backgrounds. While exploring, we'll basically be doing three things: scavenging items, trying to find Digimon to send back, and the game's combat system, in which the combat system might put a few people off because it's where things get a little bit strange, as we don't work on a fully traditional RPG combat system of any kind. I personally can't think of a game that does combat quite the same way. This is because instead of issuing an attack or run command, basically you suggest it to your Digimon, and based on the level and how well you've looked after them, they will then decide whether it's something they want to do or not. So it means the raising of your Digimon is incredibly important, which in concept is brilliant, although I think it would have been nice to have more direct control, especially for some of the tougher fights. Moving on from the combat, the main point of the game, as mentioned earlier, is to bring Digimon back to File City. So upon bringing back these new Digimon friends, we'll find that the game starts to open up more and more, as the game is somewhat back-loaded. It makes the early game a little bit slow, but the late game a lot more enjoyable. As we bring back more friends, we'll unlock shops, clinics, gyms, and even restaurants. All of these will evolve with more Digimon that we actually bring back. So it adds a lot of personality and makes all your work actually shown, and it feels really good to see it. For each Digimon we bring back, we actually earn what we call prosperity points. This will help increase your tamer's level. This will help with grinding later on. And that's because there is one key mechanic I haven't actually brought up to this point, and that's the fact our Digimon will unfortunately pass away. They only live for a certain amount of days depending on what level they are, so you need to balance a lot of different things in order to make things work to the best of your ability. However, upon them dying and you getting in new Digimon, they'll actually keep some carryover stats, so it is important to make sure you train to the best of your ability, along with leveling up the town and your prosperity points, meaning the game gives you more than just a single reason to go out and try and save the world. It actually rewards the player for doing what the game wants you to do, which is something unfortunately a lot of games don't seem to do these days. Up until now, I've been pretty damn positive about the game. However, there is some major flaws that I think need to be addressed. Firstly, the game's lack of feedback as to when your Digimon needs something, such as sleep, food, or to go to the bathroom. Mainly due to the fact that we don't find out until they need to do it already, which can get you in some trouble when you're trying to explore the world and all of a sudden, hey, they need to take a nap halfway through this exploration, or need to use the bathroom only for you to get stuck in a battle immediately. My second major complaint is the lack of a world map. Having a map that would actually tell us where we're going would help immensely, especially in the mid game when you can get a little bit lost because there are a few different things you have to sort of wait around to do. It's not to say that it needs one necessarily, but it definitely would have helped to have. I do have other complaints, but they're pretty minor, so I'm going to leave them aside for now. Overall, I think this game is a really good game. It is a solid 7 to 8 out of 10 for me. I'd love to see it ported to modern consoles, especially something like the Switch, because being able to play it for 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes on the go would be awesome. It's a type of game you can sort of pick up, come back to, and do a little bit at a time, though I'd recommend keeping notes just for your own sanity. So with that, lads, ladies, gents, ladetts, whoever, whatever, it brings us to the end of another video. I hope you liked this little remaster. There will be a link to the original video that is unlisted down below in the description if you do want to check it out. I don't believe in deleting my content necessarily. However, I am going to be replacing a lot of my older videos that I don't think are quite up to snuff for what I see as a standard. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that like button. If you want to go that extra step, consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you want to go that extra mile, you can support me on Ko-fi for just a single $1 a month, like these lovely people here. And with that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there. Bye.